will be doing exactly that. So first of all, it is a very, as you've heard before, it's a low key. We're not official in terms of, I'm not
Yeah.
interviewing or anything. What exactly, since the last time we saw each other, we were in Des Moines. Gosh, that was a long
Yes.
time ago now.
I did have to look which year because because I went back every year back to Des Moines, so sometimes the years get mixed up. With year we got to see when was the last time we saw each other? It was 2013. Then 2013 Des Moines Menace.
That was the last time we saw each other. So since then,
Crazy.
what's new?
7 years. Gosh, 7 years. Yeah, there's so much going on, obviously. So what happened in since Des Moines, like 2013? I think I was like a sophomore in college at that point. So pretty much I was doing what everyone done at that point. You're going back to school, and then you play in the summer. And I was playing at California University of Pennsylvania, south of Pittsburgh, Division II school. And then I was always every year coming back to Des Moines Menace, playing there, as that's kind of my home ground. Because maybe I'll rewind it a little bit back, just to give everyone a little bit of a background. I'm coming from Czech Republic, and I went to the state of Iowa. I started in the state of Iowa, where I went to high school and went to the Des Moines Menace Academy. So, and from there, pretty much, that became my home base in the States. From there I finished high school, then I went to college, where I just mentioned, and then every year I went back to play with the Des Moines Menace, just because that's where, I have great people. The organization's wonderful, which I think a lot of people also know what a great organization it is. So always I was going back every year. So that's how we met, obviously. And from there I graduated 2016. I had a short sting and in Bethlehem Steel, where I was just trying out, because at the same time I was studying sport management, and I was doing an internship with Philadelphia Union. So it was a great combination where I was pretty much doing internship, and at the same time and the Bethlehem Steel was starting that year. It was the first year they were in USL, and they were putting a team together. I was like, hey, I would love to be a part of it, and I was there for like 2 months or something before they got rid of me. Not in a bad way. They're just pretty much the whole process of Bethlehem Steel was that they were planning on bringing more academy kids and then feeding them to the first team, and I was just more of a part that they were not counting on ahead, so they already had position filled. But from there, I just had to choose. Do I still go on more trials, with different USL teams, pretty much, go try my luck there, which I had a great feedback from the Bethlehem Steel coaches that it would be a good idea. Definitely not that I would get lost, but at the same time, I got an offer to work full time with Philadelphia Union in the front office on doing marketing, and that's what I was studying in the sport management world. And that was something where I had to pretty much say goodbye to my soccer career and get on working in the front office of that. So yeah, that's yeah, I could go more and more deeper into all of these things, but don't want to take the whole time. But pretty much since we last saw each other, I was then Philadelphia Union, then I lived a short time in New York, and then Washington D.C. And as I just not long ago told you, I moved back to Czech Republic after 10 years being in the States.
And and then we talked a little bit what you're doing now. You're an agent?
Yeah, so in a way, not really an agent. We are, and there's decent amount of companies like us. We're pretty much, a personal development agency, USA Sport and Study, where we,
What's it called again?
USA Sport and Study.
Okay.
Yeah, so pretty much the name says it all. We help young talented kids to go to US. We help them find the right universities, prep schools, after schools, master's program, whatever is fit. But we're trying to combine it with sport. It's just on my side, I focus on the soccer kids, both men's and women's. But in our organization, we have a team of managers that are specialists pretty much in their sports. So we have track and field managers, golf managers, tennis managers, hockey managers. So all of these different sports, these kids have unique ways to get into these, get into schools, get into the U.S. And that's what we personally help them with. There's a lot of aspects, as from playing college. There's NCAA eligibility center, the tests. Obviously with the international kids, they need to learn the culture, they need to learn English, and there's just so many little steps along the way that from my own personal experience, nobody was helping me. It was tough. So when I was starting working with this organization, and I was just doing it part time, when that was maybe actually 2013 when we were playing together in Des Moines Menace. I was just doing kind of on the side, kind of from my sophomore year in college. And it was something that I was talking to a couple kids at that time, and I was pretty much just telling them my experience and just what I've been through helped them so much, because I've had to overstep certain challenges that they didn't have to face just because I've told them that it's gonna come sooner or later for them.
This,
So that was that.
is this company paying you a salary, or is it based off of if you send them a kid, you get paid?
So now that I've moved back to Czech Republic, yeah, I have salary, full-time salary, and yeah, we have a commission base as well if we sign certain kids and if we place them, so it's based off that as well.
What a cool gig. That's it. And so, are you mostly finding Czech Republic people?
No, no, yes, mostly now because we are a Czech company, and that's kind of our strength in a way, because there are a lot of similar companies to what we do on the western side of Europe. There's tons in Germany, France, Italy, England, tons, Sweden as well. But there's not much on the eastern side of Europe. So obviously Czech Republic and Slovakia, as we used to be a country together, that's kind of our biggest base of kids where we send them to US. But we've placed kids from different countries, from Netherlands, from all around the world. So we do have kids reaching out to us from different countries, but Czech Republic and Slovakia is kind of our biggest base.
What's the website?
USA Sport and Study.
USA Sport and Study, because I can pull it up actually for our listeners to take a look at while I'm with you talking here.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so then you've just started. I think you're on vacation, and now you've just come. Or no, you're in Egypt, so you're on vacation now. Or
Yeah, I'm now in vacation, work vacation. It's since I've been in the States for 10 years, for the last 10 years, I've never been able to take a family vacation. Now that I'm back, it's kind of a good timing, but obviously, work never stops. It's if you don't even consider work, it's something helping these kids. It's wonderful. So, but yeah, at least I'm here with my family. So
yeah, that's awesome. Let's see if I can share my screen here. Try it. Nope. Let's see. Okay. Soon I'll be able to. It looks like I'm not there yet. But for people, I'm looking at the website now for people who are listening anyways, and who are most of my listeners. Most people don't watch as of yet. But this is probably why, because my technology is not working. But it looks like a great website. Then you look like you have the genuine interest of the players, and obviously you have a huge platform in America. That's super cool. So then, is your goal, like, you have a girlfriend, I believe?
yes,
with
5 years now.
years now. You met her in college, or?
Yeah, we met in college. She was a tennis star at our school. So I guess student athletes, they tend to hang out together in college quite a lot, and we pretty much hit it off from there. And she is Luxembourgish. She's from Luxembourg in Germany. So we had that European connection as well. So for us, move back to Europe also made sense.
Totally. No, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. I can do it now. Watch this.
You can see the website now. Oh, wonderful.
Can you see? Wait a second. That's the recording system. Can you see this? Wait.
Yes, that should be the website.
Hold on a second here.
Wait.
Okay, just kidding. And so then so is the goal to eventually, here we go. Is your goal eventually to become an agent, or you really like what you're doing now for the most part?
I love it. I love it. I mean, you mean like a professional agent helping pros going, maybe to States, or American kids going pro here? Is that what you're meaning?
Well, let's start with pro players in Czech Republic going to America to play professionally. Obviously, college is super cool. I mean, that's
Yes.
awesome. I'm very familiar. Like, I'm looking at this website. I'm going to scroll through as we talk.
Uh-huh.
But like,
Go for it.
it's just so people can see it. Is like it's definitely awesome. Helping kids get an education and
Mhm.
do all these things.
Mhm.
Obviously, though, from your perspective, like say you're 50, do you see yourself with this same gig, or what would you like?
That's a tough question. Obviously, naturally, it seems like it will be progressing towards that way, but I'm just not seeing it right now because I'm there. There's just so much that my value could be bring to these young kids, and we are a growing company. We have I think around like 15 people in our organization. And a couple of years ago, there was only maybe five or something. So it's growing, and it's going to get to the point where we're going to have more and more kids. And I think naturally it's going to get to the point where I will be helping even professional Czech players going to the U.S. or kids that have just graduated from college. Many of them are trying to get to Europe, right? And obviously, I've listened to your podcast before where there's some kid who just graduated and is looking to go pro. These are the things that probably will naturally get to that in the future, because in the end I'm still helping people. It's not much of a difference now. It's more helping them with prep schools and universities. So in the end it's probably going to gradually go towards it, but I'm not saying it's going to happen anytime soon. I love what I do. It's the kids that we impact, that they get to go to the States. It's wonderful. So I love what I do, and I think I'll always little bit be connected to it, but I think gradually we'll get to the pros as well.
Are you working in an office like on a daily basis, or?
No. We do have an office in Prague, but the whole team is remote. We have team, I think, in Colombia, Russia, States, obviously Czech Republic, Switzerland. So all of our team works remote,
Got it. And I'm
pretty
reading
much.
about the gentleman who created it started in hockey.
Yeah. Yes, he was a hockey guy, and his story is pretty cool. But in a good way, because he came to the States and he was a great hockey player, but because he already played some pro hockey games in Czech Republic, he was not able to go D1 or anything like that, even
Right.
though he was talented enough. So if he would know that sooner. If somebody would tell him that, hey, you should not play on those pro games because then you're not going to be able to play NCAA D1 hockey, he would have done it. So that's something where, we come and at least educate these kids what are their options. That if you want to go play pro, we're definitely not stopping you. It's just important for you to know what could be affected down the road.
Totally. Makes perfect
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah,
And
but he's a great guy.
I'm looking at just the people here, like they're all quite
Yeah.
young, which is awesome.
Yeah,
And
pretty much all former student athletes, who went through the process. So that's the best way we've connected. And our hiring process was pretty simple. As those all of the people that are working with the organization, they came to us naturally. They either went through recommendation or something, and they all had very similar stories where they just want to be able to help these kids, the same way that they were helped, or maybe they were not helped. Now they want to just give them the time back and educate them on what can be done. So the stories are pretty similar to all of them. And we have an incredible team. We have some stars on the team who are, for example, still playing professionally. Some even planning training for the Olympics now, for the Summer Olympics. So it's we have a pretty cool team.
yeah, oh, I mean, it sounds successful. I'm looking, um, I'm trying to find out the cost. Where do I look to see how much?
Cost. Yes. So we don't put our cost online. Just a lot of organizations don't put it because it's not that we're trying to hide it, but it turns a lot of people away right away. Because there are just some people who look at the cost and they're like, okay, I'm not willing to pay for this. but they don't understand how much of work it actually could be done to it. That we are very flexible. We are working with some kids from very poor countries, and we understand that sometimes they're not able to afford what our ranges pretty much are. So we are very flexible and see how we can help them. And we've worked with some kids on very very low pretty much cost. But at the same time, it's really different because we offer so many different services, so that the cost is always built up uniquely for those kids based on what they need. So there's not like this is how much costs to do this is how much it costs to do that. It's then all kind of a mix of everything what we do for the kids. So
and
mhm.
then one thing, obviously, say our listeners, for our listeners' sake, because most of our listeners are either in college, going to college, but they're from the States,
Mhm.
and they would love to play in Europe. Is it
Yeah.
something, are you in a position yet where well, here's the first thing I was thinking actually. You had
Mhm.
mentioned like, you're going to have kids from Eastern Europe, you're going to take them to college. I imagine what eventually will start happening is that some of those kids will be really good in college and they'll want to go to USL. And
Oh,
then,
absolutely.
then all of a sudden they say, hey, Luobs played in USL and he helped me come here in the first place. Why don't I have him be my agent? So obviously that's probably, hopefully what would happen. Say I don't know
Yeah.
what
That's
percent.
what we so in a natural way, what we do right now with the kids, what I do at least with the soccer kids, we work in a way where when they start working with USA Sport and Study, we don't stop working once we get them to the US. We are gradually working with them through the time when they're college. So right now, our kids, when they're trying to play PEL in the summer, I help them find those teams at the same time. So I'm still pretty much, I guess you can call it agent, but in my way, I still feel a responsibility for these kids as I brought them to the U.S. and I want to help them in any way possible. So in a way, kind of a mentor. I still give them the freedom; they could do it on their own, to figure out. But if they ask me, hey, can you help me find a team? Can you, connect me with some people? Absolutely. Why? We have some great talented players, and I could do, and I would want to do everything I can for them. So in a way, we're still helping them as agents, I guess. But
Yeah.
the connection never breaks. Once we help them to the U.S., we're still with them. Even once they graduate college, we have some kids who just come to us and they after college they don't see that they can go play pro. So they ask us, okay, what now? And it's like, okay, what did you study? Let's say you study sports management. Okay, I study the same thing. I have some connections in this world as well. Let me connect you to the right people. Do you want to work in, for a soccer team? Do you want to work in this league or what you're looking at? And then I connect them to various internships and things like that. So the connection really never the relationship is just keep on building. It's never just like one and done and we're never speaking again. I'm constantly in touch with the kids that we brought to the US and helping them through the way.
Very cool. The other thought I had was because you're in the Czech Republic and because you're going scouting kids, you must be talking to teams and you must be talking to
Yeah.
coaches, which of
Hmm.
course then would lead a pathway either for those Czech Republic kids to come back to Czech Republic or Europe to play
Yeah.
football, or, and obviously this is from my perspective and from my listeners' perspective, are you in a place eventually where you would go, say for me, for example, hey, blah, 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 I'd like to try coming to play for Czech Republic. Are you in a place where you could set up trials for kids at some point?
Absolutely, yeah, and I'm seeing it more and more. Czech Republic is an interesting market. I do think there are more foreigners in Slovakia for some reason, but I do see more and more foreigners coming to Czech Republic, and that is something that I will be more in the position. As I said, I just moved back to Czech Republic after 10 years being in the States, so I'll be obviously meeting more with the clubs, more with the coaches, and and I've seen and I need to educate some of the teams about you know pretty much the U.S. and the college system because not all of them know what quality players come out of it, right? In Scandinavia, it's common they know those quality of players, but in Czech Republic, there's not many kids who went to U.S. Either from Czech Republic or different countries, went through the college system and came back and played pro. We do have some cases, but so it's going to take some educating these coaches and the clubs, but I do think even now I'm in the position where I'm able to connect with some of the clubs, and it's only going to keep on growing. So Czech Republic and Slovakia, definitely let me know if if there's anything that your listeners would like to check out.
I'll
with
probably
these.
reach out to you now, to be fair, after hearing you on the podcast.
Yeah.
Probably say, I'll put your stuff on there afterwards. The other thing is, what are the rules for a foreigner in the Czech Republic? Do you know like how many they can have? Do they have? Is it a state with?
That I don't know specifically, to be honest with you. I don't know how many. I don't know the exact number how many they can have. So I don't know that
My
specifically.
other question would be, and I started a company exactly what you're doing.
Hmm.
Um, it's called Z Next Step, and it's the same concept. Of course, instead it was with Americans, helping them to play college soccer in America. And I had a lot of
Hmm.
clients, and one of the things that I always found to be really challenging was you'd have a parent, and they'd be like, "My kid's a Division I player," and I didn't think they were, but
Yep.
I tried really hard to go, look, I don't decide if they're a Division I player because every coach has their own opinion.
Yeah.
So my
Hmm.
job is just to help you get in contact with as many coaches as possible and make your
Hmm.
highlight video as good as possible. And then, maybe they'll pick you. I can't be for sure, but I will do my part. So in your case, are you looking at videos all the time and saying,
Oh,
this kid's Division I? Or are you saying, oh, if you really want to play, because what I found was with all my clients, I had to basically tell them, look, I've emailed this, I've connected you to this school, but they still need to see you play live. You're going to have to go to a combine. And to go to a
hmm,
combine, if you're in California and you go to San Diego, not a big deal. But to go from
hmm.
Czech Republic for a 2-day combine doesn't really make sense. So how is it that how do you assess these kids?
Yeah, so there it's every kid is very unique, and videos is definitely a huge part of it. But what we do, we talk to as many people that they've been connected throughout their career as possible. Their coaches, their parents, sometimes even their friends, really to get an idea who these kids are. Because obviously coaches don't want just good players; they want good students and they want good people on their team. It's being a player, being a good player is a huge part of it. But we're trying to assess these kids from all kinds of different angles. So video is a one part, talking to coach is another. Talking to a coach that had him a couple of years ago, what he was or she was a couple of years back, what they've improved on, and then obviously speaking to different coaches on the U.S. side to get their opinion just even before we start working with them. It's like, hey, we have a kid from this country on this level, how you would approach, how would you approach this kid, what are some of the values that you see and not. um so it's kind of a full scope of what we kind of getting to know of these kids. But videos are a huge part of it, obviously, and from time to time it sucks when the videos are not good. That's pretty much our biggest obstacle. We have so many kids reaching out to us from various countries where we look at their soccer resume and it's like, these kids actually play on good teams, but they don't have any videos at all. They've never recorded any games, and that pretty much it's in a way a deal breaker, because we can talk to the coaches, we can talk to as many people we want to, but without seeing them on the video, it kills it. So yeah, video is a big part of it, but we do kind of a full picture of those kids before we start working with them.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's the same with me. The video was no deal, and eventually we created a relationship with parents and other people who I said, look, record the game, and then I'll make the footage. And that, honestly, that was a really
Yep,
big pain in the
same
ass.
thing.
But it
Yeah,
did,
it's
it could work from time to time, but it was difficult. It was difficult.
yeah. I agree. Yeah, we do have, there's obviously the parents and the kids when they hear that this option even is there, and then they just start recording the next game on the phone or something. They're trying to figure out, and it can work, but it's without a good video, it's really hard. I'm gonna lie, especially for international kids. For the American kids, as you said, they can go to a combine. For international kids, it has to be a good video for sure.
Is there a limit of how many foreign kids can play on a college soccer team?
Foreign kids? No,
Okay.
no, no, not at all. There are some college teams that I've seen have maybe two Americans, and the rest are foreigners. So, and then there are some teams who only have American kids. So, not to my knowledge.
I haven't seen. I know NAI is different. So the other question I would have for you, and this is something I deal with. So like, let's say I'm in Sweden. Obviously, like you said, there's companies. But let's say I had a Swedish kid, and I go, look, I know Luobs, and I trust him,
Mhm,
and you should work
mhm,
with. his company. First of all, is that something you would do if he was Swedish?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, no, we do have some kids actually where they are deciding between different companies, and I've connected with those companies, and we discuss this kid's case, and we actually kind of evaluate. It's like, okay, what is the value you can bring to the table? What is the value that we can bring to the table? Can we maybe work together, or do we figure out like, hey, you're the better than I am, things like that. It's these kids is their future, and obviously, obviously if they start working with us, it's great. It brings money to the organization. But at the same time, we're not going to break these kids better future for that. It's a big deal for us, and we're really basing this on that. So yeah, it's definitely not a problem.
well, that's way better than an agent because most agents I've worked with, which is you're not an agency, but you know what I mean. You kind of are,
I
and
understand. Yeah.
um, I've tried to make agents work together when I've had a deal somewhere else with a different agent, and I am signed with an agent, and a random agent comes and says I have a deal, and then I need them to work together, and it's very hard to do it. So that's awesome that you put the kids first. The other thing though is, say I had a kid, and this is what I fight with a lot, and I don't know what it's like in Czech Republic. Sweden, I say to, so right now, for example, or last year, right now, there's a kid, he's 17, he's good. Um, Honestly, he's a Division I soccer player, but I can't guarantee that one, he will play every minute, and I can't
Hmm.
guarantee that he won't disappear, like, because there's so many kids because
Yeah.
he wants to go pro. So what I mean, disappear, like,
Hmm.
he could play out for a team and then disappear, basically,
Yeah.
be just like every
Mhm.
other kid. Where now, for the time being, with the club I'm with, he's 17 playing with the first team. Say this season he has a good year, people will know who he is. He could get called up to the youth national team based off of.
Yeah.
If he goes to
Yeah.
America, that basically goes away, no matter how good he is.
Mm.
Unless he gets, a generation Adidas and goes to the MLS,
Yeah.
he's not going. And here he's playing with a pro team. There he's playing with a college team, and Sweden
Hmm.
doesn't give a shit about college kids in terms of like national
Yep.
team,
Hmm.
playing for Allsvenskan or things like that. So for
Hmm.
him, say he's a Division I player, I'm not going to be able to convince him to get an education. And in Sweden, on top of that, Sweden, you can get an education for free whenever you want.
Yeah.
You can be 50.
I
Um,
know. Isn't that nice?
yeah, exactly. I don't think it's the same in Czech Republic, is it? No.
Yeah, most of the kids in Czech, yeah, it's very cheap, very very cheap.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's
it
reasonable.
might not be
So,
as exactly free, but it's very affordable.
and I don't know exactly Czech Republic to Sweden. I really don't know a lot about Czech Republic. Will you tell me, is the culture in Czech Republic like, if I can get to America, then I'm going to America?
Um, for the Czech kids, if they can get to United States, that's interesting because I do see it with Slovakian kids. Once they see that opportunity, they are in for sure. And no matter how if it's a 1%,
Right.
yeah.
Go ahead,
What is
sorry.
it? Yeah,
1%.
yeah. So for Slovakian kids, I see that with the Czech kids, they're always a little bit more. They're always a little bit more cautious, and they're more careful about. It's like, okay, Czech Republic is actually not a bad country. Maybe it would be better for me to stay here. Things like that. So it depends on the country. Most of the kids, when they decide they want to go to the United States, I do have the discussion with them about what is the specific reason. Do you want to go there just because you see that New York is amazing on TV, things like that, or do you actually have a very valid good reason to go to the United States to study, to play soccer? And we go from there. But usually Slovakian kids, they're in for sure. Czech kids, so we have to sometimes evaluate what are the pros and cons for them.
Right. That makes sense. And
Hmm.
then what about like, okay, so that's a bit different to Sweden, say. The kids here are like, I've heard they're excited about the concept about college
Hmm.
sports because they can play college and have a social, but a
Yeah.
lot of them have gone over and had a nightmare and they come back here
Mm.
and look, I went to, you know how it is,
Mm.
you were in Iowa, you were in Iowa.
Yeah.
They go to an Iowa place, they want to go
Yeah.
to a New York or Miami, this coach
Hmm.
is saying blah blah blah, school's free, but they're in the
Yep.
middle of nowhere and the soccer sucks. Maybe your school was a good school, but they go to an NAI school and disappear. So
Yeah.
that's one thing I found here. But as you said, in Slovakia, and then I found players who are in Sweden who are Bosnian. They're a little bit more like, oh my gosh, that's a hell of an opportunity if I can get out of Bosnia. then I will do that. Sweden is a good country in terms of financially, so it's a bit harder. However, if it's a different sport like a tennis or wrestling, because
Hmm.
here they don't really have those to the same level. Where here, of course, and Czech, I don't like. I've never heard of like. Have I heard of a Czech Republic team? What's a famous Czech Republic team?
Team,
Like a pro team. What's a famous?
pro team, Sparta Prague,
Okay,
Sparta Prague, Slavia Prague. Those are probably the most popular,
okay.
both in soccer and
And I don't
hockey.
know in terms of like, I don't know if there's corruption in the country in terms of football, if it's organized, or in Sweden it's pretty good. The point is that I find it very difficult. My pitch to them, if they say to me, look, if I want to go play college, I go, and then I have to ask them, do you want to go pro? And they go, yes. I go, you should probably stay here. You're better
Yep,
off staying here.
same
Now
thing.
they said, look, you want an education, and you want a great social experience, and you want an experience you won't get. You can always come back to Sweden and play Division One, like
Yeah,
or
exactly.
do.
Yeah, but some of these kids, as you're describing that 17-year-old, he's already on the first team. Seems like he's on a really good way to go pro. For him, depending on how big of a value for you is the education that you would get in the U.S. If it's
Well, that's
really on the top level for him, then go for it. But he has to understand what he's leaving behind, because if also being a professional soccer player, in Sweden is something that he wants to do, he's on the right step. So maybe I would recommend him to stay and do that. But obviously some kids bring
how
that
many kids in the Czech Republic speak good English?
yeah, yes, it's not bad. I would definitely say Scandinavians speak better English, but Czechs are not bad. Slovakians are not bad. I haven't come across a specific country that doesn't speak really. Their kids
France,
now the kids have
France, they don't
great
speak
English in
English in
schools.
France.
What is it?
In France, they don't speak English. Not very,
In
not like
France,
in Sweden.
we haven't had problem with French kids at all.
Okay.
To be
So maybe
honest
you
with
have
their
something.
English.
I know
So.
they do speak. Of course, they speak English. But as
Mhm.
a country, when I go visit there, when I've been there, it's not like Sweden where everybody speaks English.
Really good. Well, I was born there, so I guess
You
I
were
will
born in
not.
France?
Yeah, I was. Well, maybe you've known, of my history of my father. He was a professional soccer player, and he
Yeah,
played in France at that time. So I was born there.
that's
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah.
Okay,
So,
cool.
but what do you think about from an American perspective? You came and you played now in Sweden, and if you would want to play in Czech Republic and Slovakia, where now we're not seeing as such a huge import of American players, what is something you would be looking? Let's say I would be speaking to these coaches. What is something that interests you right away, besides obviously the financial situation with the clubs, but what is like maybe the culture that you as an American would be looking to play? What is something you would be looking for when you would move pretty much from the States and play professionally in Czech Republic and Slovakia? What is something you'd be looking for right away?
Good question. The first thing that comes to mind is when I think of Eastern Europe, I think of not being paid on time, and I think lack of organization. What I'm potentially, I guess you could say it's a bit of a racist claim, in a sense, but that's when I think of, because I've been, I was offered at some point to go to Lithuania, I think, and
Hmm.
that's not exactly where you guys are. But when I think of, say, Sweden or Germany or France or Spain, I go, look, they have big leagues. There's some, like, when I play with players from Slovakia, Slovenia, or Czech
Hmm.
Republic, they don't want to be there. They all want to leave. So my first reaction is that, I don't really want to go there. So to answer your question, what would relieve me, my mind would go, first of all, given how close I am with you, if you said to me, look, this team's going to pay you on time, they're going to sort your housing, you're going to live in it. For me, I don't want to live. There was a point in my career where I would live anywhere,
Hmm.
but now I would be a little bit more strict to
A
at
little
what
picky, of
anywhere. I'm not
course.
going to live in a closet, as I may have done in the past. Now I think I'm going to say I would need a bedroom, and it's going to be paid for, and you have to sort out my bed and my internet, electricity, maybe a meal a day. And I would say, what level is it? How far? How are we traveling to the games? Are we sleeping beforehand? I
Hmm.
would. So my first instinct is it a place where I could trust where I'm going? The second thing is, and this is probably potentially just as important, is it a cool country? Like, would I enjoy my time there. Is there cool things to do? Obviously, Prague is there. Like that's a cool city. How are the people? One of the things, of course, in Sweden is there's beautiful women,
Oh
but
yeah.
on the flip side,
Well, have you ever heard of the Slovakian woman?
yes, I've heard that as well, right?
Yeah.
On the flip side with Sweden, not for the most part, but for a lot of it, they're very shy people in compared to Americans, anyways.
Hmm.
Like an example would be you're different because you've left your country and lived in America, but you wanted to come on my podcast. You're looking forward to the opportunity, and I'm happy to have you.
Hmm.
Swedes, who are, say, in a very similar position, they don't want to be on a podcast. They don't want to network in the same way. They don't want to, in a sense, brag that they've been on a podcast. Where
Hmm.
In LA, 1 in 3 people have a podcast.
What? One in three people?
1 in 3 people, which is
Wow.
insane. So
That's crazy.
it is
Oh
great.
my God.
There's just like in America, everything is about becoming not a star, but yeah, in a sense. Like, look, I started a podcast, and in Sweden, it's
Yeah, everyone's very social in the States, and I've
yeah,
kind of became Americanized based on that. But yeah, Swedes. I didn't know that Swedish people are like that. Czechs are, I would say, somewhere in between. I know some people who are very open and would, speak with you days about everything. But then there are some who are not very communicative, and it's also based on what is their English level, right? So that's also important. But yeah, I get
but to
what you're
answer your
saying.
question, if you said to me, I have a team for you, they're in the second division, they're going to sort
Mhm.
everything out for you. My first reaction to that is I don't know enough about the Czech Republic to be like, yeah, let me go do that.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm looking it up as we speak. I'm just going to look up like what is their what is Prague like, I guess, because I imagine I'd want to live if I could choose theoretically.
Oh yeah, Prague would be.
I'd want to be in
It's a small country. You could live in Prague, and there are some even Czech players who drive hour and a half to practice every day just to be in Prague. Because it's a great city to live in.
And I'm looking
So
at pictures now. It looks beautiful. So now I'm already convinced more than I was. And 10 million people. Sweden's 10 million people, and Sweden's a lot bigger of a country.
a lot more.
Um,
Yeah.
but I also like the idea of like 10 million people in a smaller setting. Like Israel is really small, and I played there for a bit, and that
Hmm.
has 7 million people, but it's tiny. So you're always surrounded by people, which I like. I like being around people.
Hmm.
So I'm looking at Prague. It looks beautiful. It looks like one of the things that I like also is outside of football, I like to go teach at a school or
Yes.
do something else in addition to playing football. I actually, some of course just want to play football. I don't play as well when I do that actually. I play better when I'm doing something in addition to playing. So the other thing
Great.
would be, would they sort me a job? And I don't want a
Mhm.
job as a construction man person. I'd want to be in a school teaching English
Mhm.
or underprivileged kids or something of that nature.
Mhm.
Those are the
Yeah.
first things I think of. When I think of other players, I put it this way. If you're talking to a 19-year-old, I've had this happen many times. I'm talking to, and I had one of them on my